All right, big news on the recruiting trail today. Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs pick up a massive commitment from four-star wide receiver Tyler Williams out of Lakeland, Florida, a program that has historically produced guys that would go on to be Florida Gators. But this time, Brian McClendon goes down to Florida and gets one of his top targets in the entire class. So that's just one reason why this is a big deal. He is one of the best wide receivers in the South. He's got plenty of size, 6'2.5", about 6'3", 200 pounds. Former basketball player, just a tremendous athlete, used to play quarterback and defensive back 2019 and 2020. Moved to Lakeland to play there. They got moved to wide receiver last year. Didn't light up the stat sheet a ton. I think he had about, let's see, I'll look up those numbers. I thought I had it in front of me right now. 21 passes, 616 yards. So when he does make a catch, if you go back and look at his film, good things happen. He is a big play waiting to happen. He's a guy who can go up and snatch the football out of the air against smaller defenders. He can run. He's dangerous after the catch. And he's got a vertical on him. He's a former basketball player, a guy who can just move really well. Once he made that transition to wide receiver, he started getting offers left and right. Quickly flew up Georgia's board, took an official visit to Georgia June 10th, that weekend, I believe. And if you've been watching these videos, you're not surprised at all, because I have a close source down there in Lakeland who told me, hey, after that official visit, Georgia is probably the team to beat right now. And they never backed off that. He would end up taking official visits to A&M. South Carolina had multiple September visits to Miami, if I remember correctly. But I was told the whole time, hey, Georgia wants this kid. He likes Georgia a lot. He sees what's happening over there, and he's physical. Again, if you can't be physical and block on the perimeter, help out in the run game, you're not playing wide receiver at the University of Georgia, and really anywhere for that matter. But Tyler Williams is a guy who puts on social media a lot, like, hey, I'm a team guy, not a mean guy, not a me guy. I'm going to help the team, whatever they need. I just want to win. And if you want to win, Georgia is the place for you. If you want to catch for 1,000 yards, 60 catches, 70 catches, and line up the stat sheet at wide receiver, Georgia's not the place for you. And that's okay, because we've seen Georgia win without, five-star receivers. George Pickens only made one catch in that national championship game, but you can still play early at Georgia at wide receiver. Again, we've seen it for a few years now. Some type of true freshman makes plays and makes an impact at wide receiver. 2019, it was George Pickens and Dominic Blaylock. 2020, Jermaine Burton. Last year, A.D. Mitchell. And then Dylan Bell this year is already starting to see playing time early in games. He has a touchdown reception already. So he's another guy who's already making an impact. Right now, they have 3 wide receivers on the commit list right now. Tyler Williams, Yazid Haynes, and Raymond Cottrell. So right now, I think Tyler Williams is the best of the bunch. He does run really well, runs like a deer at almost 6'3" and 200 pounds. He's a bigger physical kid who can run. He is a vertical threat, but if you get him the ball quickly out in space, he's a guy who can, follow a couple blocks and get hit down the field and then carry guys another couple of yards. He's a fall forward type of receiver, and he really is a natural with the ball in his hands. He is, again, a tremendous athlete who did play a lot of different positions early on, but as he got bigger and kind of played his way out of quarterback, Lakeland's a strong program. They know what they're doing. They said, okay, this kid's going to be a wide receiver for us, and it's going to change your life. And it did. And Georgia really likes him. This is a big pickup for Brian McClendon for sure. And now he's the Georgia Bulldog. So, again, it's not surprising if you've been on Dog Post, if you've read any of my recruiting stories about him, especially this summer and especially after his official visit to Georgia back in June, that I thought Georgia was trending the right way. And I do think that Miami gave him a lot to think about, especially towards the end there. But always was told that Georgia was sitting in a really good spot. First, it was Georgia Clemson, then South Carolina, then Miami, and Texas A&M was kind of always in the mix a little bit too. But this is a big-time pickup and a guy who I think could make, see the field early next year as a freshman. They took, I think, 4 receivers in the last year's cycle, 2022. Dylan Bell, Cole Spear, blanking on him right now. I didn't want to look it up, Denylon Morissette, and who was the CJ Smith, the speed receiver they got out of Florida too. So Denylon has played. Cole Spear made a catch against South Carolina. And of course, Dylan Bell's already seeing the field. So you can go to Georgia and play. You're not sitting on the bench entirely. And it does help when they're really, really good. It can blow teams out in the first half. So they're able to play these young guys. That's what Kirby Smart is all about. He wants to get these guys on the field as much as possible because one day those young players are going to be starters and they're going to benefit from getting in these games late in the ball game. So that's what he tells kids in the living room. That's how he recruits. And I think Tyler Williams definitely saw an opportunity to win, see the field early, and make an impact. I mean, I think he's going to look like a George Pickens or Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint out there. He's a long, big, physical receiver with tremendous ball skills. And we haven't seen Rosemy-Jacksaint make a ton of catches, but when he does, it looks good. It looks natural, and he can pick the ball out of the air and work the sideline well. So he's a guy who I think Georgia could probably get the ball to a little bit more, but and maybe they do. When games are a little closer, they've got some stuff specifically for Marcus, but he's a tremendous blocker out on the edge. We've talked about it over and over, and Tyler Williams is going to bring that part of the game too. Running backs are going to love getting to the edge of running behind this guy blocking downfield. So he's going to open up some running lanes on the outside, and you have to be able to do that for Georgia's offense to click and succeed like it has been. They have backs who can catch out of the backfield, and if you've got big physical receivers on the outside holding their own and throwing their defensive back backwards, you don't have to be a five-star running back to run in the open field and succeed that way. So Tyler Williams, again, a guy who I think has been towards the top of Georgia's board. It hasn't been the best wide receiver class. They have lost out on guys like Jalen Hale and Malik Benson, JUCO wide receiver. It's still early for me, so I'm trying to get this out. Hakeem Williams is a guy who I thought Georgia was in a good position with early on. He did not choose Georgia. Jalen Brown out of Miami, I think, had a lot of early interest in Georgia. So I get why receivers would love to go to Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson or Oklahoma over Georgia. At the end of the day, they're recruiting winners, and these guys are going to win when they get to Athens. All the 3 stars that are catching passes at Georgia right now, I think, are happy with their decision. And basically everyone who signed with Georgia, I think, on this team, because they're all bought in. And so I don't know if you have a ton of guys who are upset right now with either playing time or not getting the ball enough. There's always a few players on offense and defense who are, begging for more playing time and, maybe don't have the best attitude about it. I mean, it's football. It's the game. Guys have egos. But it doesn't seem like there's a lot on this team. I think everyone is kind of bought in and are friendly with each other. And I think it's a good locker room, if that makes sense. So I think Tyler Williams is a guy who fits that mold. He fits that guy that Georgia wants to bring in on and off the field. There's a lot to like about his game. His best football is still way ahead of him. If he continues to develop and learn how to run crisper routes, he can do a lot for you. Again, you can get him the ball quick, and his natural athleticism and size will take over, and he can run straight really fast too for his size. So you can always ask him to kind of do that early on. But as he develops and perfects his craft and learns the ins and outs and becomes a complete receiver, I think he's going to be a very good player over time. And I do think that at the end of the day, this is probably the most talented wide receiver that they will sign in this class. Think they might have room for one more. Maybe someone pops on their radar late that they want and want to bring in. And so we'll see. But right now, I do think they have 3 solid commitments right now, guys who can do different things. None of them are small, and they all run and have reliable hands and can get behind defenses. So solid class. And Tyler Williams, I think, if you're a Georgia fan, you should be very, very happy about this commitment. And if you've been watching these videos, you're not surprised. You've been telling your buddies that this was going to happen for a while now. So again, we really appreciate y'all watching these videos. It's been a fun 2022 season to cover for the Dogs. We've got a lot of content coming up this week. And I will see y'all over on Dog Post. Thanks for watching, and Watch the next one after this. Thanks a lot.